Everybody, thanks so much for listening. If you're listening to us for the first time, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Please pass it around as much as you can. We do interview amazing people that are helping people around the country and sometimes even around the world. So thanks again for listening. And please, YouTube censoring us on different topics. So please pass this around to as many people as you can. We have Naimark on, and she has helped many people in her practice with mental health issues and that are suffering right now. We've done many of these interviews throughout the coronavirus crisis, and this has been going on before coronavirus. And our country is very inept with helping people with mental health issues, and we're all suffering from these issues because, in my opinion, and you can have your stance on this in a minute, Ann, due to the lockdowns, people working from home. I know some of this was safety, and I totally agree with that, but it's also was not healthy for people. But we'll go into that in a minute. So, Ian Naimark, thanks so much for coming on, and thanks so much for doing what you're doing for people and helping people that really need it in this time of need.
Thank you, Rob. I'm so privileged and honored to be asked to be with you on this show. So you're welcome.
Well, let's talk about the gun issue, because obviously we had the deadly and scary shooting at that school. I mean, I don't want to get too much into the political aspect of it, as far as the police and all that, Republican, Democrat stuff, because I think that was really a disaster. But, talking about these gun issues, because we're seeing mass shootings go up really high right now. And I personally believe, and this is what I want to know your take on it, I think it's two things. I think people are buying more guns because they don't trust the government. We have, whether it's Trump or Biden, they don't trust either one of those people or one or the other. For me, I don't trust either one. For other people, it could be one or the other. So I think that's one issue. And we saw the trust in government, and this is a factual thing, since the 70s and 80s, trust with government to do the right thing was at 70 or 80% with the U.S. public. Now it's down to 2% as of 2022, which is a huge drop in our country. And you can imagine why. And we could go through both sides and the lies and the fake talking points that they do daily in the news and on Capitol Hill. But regardless of that, so I think that's an issue. But I think there's also an issue, and this is what it goes with the gun issue. A lot of people, and you see this in California, I'm sure, on the streets, from Los Angeles to San Francisco, there's a mental health crisis. There's a jobs crisis where people can't make enough money to pay the rent, pay the gas, pay the food. And the list goes on for this. Water, everything that you need just as essentially to live. People don't have that kind of money now. So what do people do when they don't have that kind of money? They turn to crime. They turn to drugs. They turn to opioids, pills in general. So this is what's going on in our country. So we have these people that are teetering on the edge of doing something crazy. And, their family life is upheaved due to the coronavirus and all this gas and food shortages, baby formula shortages, price hikes, everything in the kitchen sink. And I'm going to shut up because I'm rambling right now. And when I get mad, I start rambling. but regardless of that, everything is going up. So I'm not making an excuse for the people that do these mass shootings, but I'm saying these people are criminals and they should be dealt with. But I'm saying, why don't we look into why people are doing this? Why people are joining white supremacist groups and hate groups now more than any time ever? Because they don't have a job, they don't have money, their family life sucks. The opioid, we just went through this. So I'm going to shut up. And as a person that's in this profession, what is your opinion? Am I spot on? Am I off? What do you think about this?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that's a level of looking at it. To me, it all goes back to fear, even though people would not admit that. But I've discovered with my clients, if you drill down and you keep moving the layers of the onion off
Mm,
about what is the issue, what is the issue, what is the issue, you always come to fear. And fear can create like the fight response, the anger, hate, the basis, this is about survival, is what you're talking about, human survival. And there is a lot of research about the brain
mhm.
and the primitive responses, especially in the hindbrain, the primitive brain in the back here, around what, people, it's just like basic, I gotta survive. I gotta
Right.
survive. So I lose everything else. I use all the other parts of the brain. I use my reasoning. I lose my love. If I had love, to me, it's fear and love.
Yeah.
And fear has a lot of derivatives to me. And I've just seen that so much. It could be hate, it could be anger, it could be depression, it could be all anxiety, it could be all kinds of stuff. And so if I work with a client, for instance, and it's hard to get to that place, which is the core, like maybe they were a little kid. And I don't know about these shooters. I don't know anything about their lives. Because we're in this crazy system, this is a political talk a little bit. We're in this crazy system. We're not in small communities where people help each other. Like, oh, I can do this, can you do that for me? And it's so big and vast that,
Right.
like you said before, it's out of control. It's power and it's money and it's greed
Yeah.
versus people, humans, love. How do we care about each other? And
But is there anything to do? And that's, again, I'm not speaking for this guy. I don't know who the hell this guy is, the
yeah.
shooter. I think what he did was, an abomination. It was evil. But my thing is I think with a lot of these people, whether it's shootings, whether it's people on the street, a
Mhm.
lot of these people committing crimes, crime is extremely high. And
Yeah.
again, crime is high because the government is doing zero for the regular working person on the street. And
Mm.
people are, I've never seen, and I know California is different, but where I am, I've never seen this many people panhandling in my
Mm.
life. Even
Yeah.
in Florida near Disney, there's a lot of people panhandling. And, I've never saw that in my life. You
Mhm.
might see one or two people once in a while, but it is like, every corner there's somebody now. Now, I know California is totally different. And I
It's
know,
not. No,
yeah,
we have the same thing. We have tons of homeless here.
right.
Tons, tons.
Right. But go ahead. If you could just go into that, what you're seeing as far as similarities in these mass shootings that we're seeing all over the country every year, hundreds, thousands a year.
Oh, I know. We had one in Sacramento recently, but it was gang related. It was
Yeah.
downtown, and it was some gang member got mad at somebody, some other one, and then there was a bunch of shooting.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's a variety. It's not all about racism. And I just feel like it has to do with helplessness. Like people hate that feeling of helplessness. Like you're saying, the government's not doing anything. I'm helpless. I can't, what can I do about this? My kid is not eating. So if you have a gun, it gives you a sense of power. And most people I know hate that feeling of helplessness. And
Yeah.
it might come from some kind of trauma in your childhood also. It might come from being beaten up, being bullied. Who knows what it is? But lots of people don't want to feel vulnerable, don't want to feel so-called weak. And so this gives them a sense of power
Well, let
because
me see. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, because they don't, like you're saying, they don't feel like the people in power are taking care of issues, taking care of them. So then, okay, well, how am I going to be powerful? And mental illness is a piece of this. Yes, people that have lost it. Maybe there's drugs involved. Maybe
Yeah.
there's so many causes. of this kind of
Mm.
thing, but there's permission in this country, right? You can buy a gun, easy. You can get a gun. It's
Agree.
so easy.
But I think they pushed that mental illness thing too hard. I think if they were
I-
very worried about mental illness in this country, then everybody in this country wouldn't be worried about getting health care. Unfortunately, there are people that don't have health care. If they have health care, they have crappy health care. So
Yeah,
that's just kind of an excuse, I feel like, by the mainstream media to play everything is mental health or video games.
yeah, and it's some of the research doesn't. I mean, I haven't looked recently, but in the past, I looked that the video games, the violent video games, did not create violence. Now that may be a different. There may be another study that says no. But like my kid went through violent video games, all his friends did, and they're the most peaceful people I ever know. And
Yeah.
part of what I read about guys, teenage boys growing up, for instance, was that, they've got this testosterone that's coursing through their brains and their bodies, and maybe they don't have an outlet, but the video game
Right.
gave them an outlet if they don't do sports, for instance.
Right. Yes.
So physically, it's like, yeah, because I would listen to them and they're yelling and screaming and loving it, and they're totally into it, but it releases some kind of energy. Anyway, I'm not saying violent video games are wonderful, but I
No,
don't,
right.
I don't know about the connection, really.
Are there signs that, you think people should look out for when, with, somebody that they think could be,
Mhm,
up to no good? We'll just say, because we don't want to just say shooting. We just want to,
mhm,
crimes in general.
mhm. Yeah, well, it's like who are these people around? Are they around their families? Are they around their friends? I mean, I've read some things where it says, I had no idea that he was feeling so bad because he kept it inside.
Yeah.
So I think most people hide what they're feeling, but one idea could be people are isolating. Maybe they look like they're really depressed, like they don't get out of bed, they're not eating, they're not sleeping good, or they're acting weird. I just think that, you just look at a human's behavior and how is it different from normal?
Yeah.
And I would be like, okay, how's it going? And just see what the response. If somebody wants to talk, fabulous. If they just want to forget about it, no, I'm fine. But they're not. You can tell by their behavior. It's different than it used to be. Then I would wonder. I would wonder what's
What
going on.
about the loner theory?
Yeah, I think that's something. Because people that are alone, right? We're mammals. We need connection. We
Right.
need touch, human touch, or at
Right.
least animal touch. And that does something to our biology. It calms
Mm.
us down. It gives us what do you call the opioids in the brain, the natural one. So
Right.
yeah. So
Well,
yeah, if somebody is by themselves all the time, well, they must, if they're youngish, maybe they live with their parents still. And this would be parents to pay attention, but not all parents pay attention. It
correct.
depends on the parents. And that's why I have a job because and I don't want to blame anybody or any parents because they're their way they are for a good reason because of how they grew up, and somebody might disagree with that, but
But if somebody's talking to you, one of your clients, when they talk to you and they say something like they're going to hurt themselves or hurt other people, now, it's supposed to be confidential when they're talking to you. How does that pan out? You have to tell the authorities, correct? Otherwise, you're liable.
no, yeah, there's a law that says if they're going to hurt themselves. And I'm thinking of one client who came into my office some years ago, and she said she was ready to die, and she had a plan.
Whoa.
And so I said, well, I'm walking you to the hospital. So the hospital happens to be close to my office, and we just walked over to the emergency room, and I stood there while they did fabulous. They took great care of her. because she was serious. She was serious. And if somebody's wants to kill somebody else, yeah, I have to call the cops.
Yeah.
And I would. I haven't had that actually, but I would. Yeah, but I think that's my only client that I actually had to put in a hospital. But
Is that like a gut check for you? Like, you're like, wow, this is really real.
you know what? I've been around this so much. People
Okay.
that like I'll get clients, yeah, I was suicidal and I took a lot of pills, or or I tried to shoot myself, or
Whoa.
I've been around this a lot of years, Rob. So, and I was a nurse before, so I saw lots of
Oh, okay.
stuff, lots of things. People in the hospital, we took care of people that were in bad shape. So
Yeah.
it's not like I'm immune to it, but I have a different relationship. It's more clinical, I suppose. I mean, I feel for everybody because
Yeah, but you can't let like you said, you can't let everybody's problems get to you. Otherwise, you'll be dead.
yeah, to put it simply, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, I don't. I have pretty good boundaries that way because this is not my life. This is their life. I don't feel like they feel. I can have compassion and empathy and I can be right there, but I'm not going to go there,
Right.
the same place.
I think we all wish we had those boundaries.
I'll tell
Uh,
you, it takes practice.
right.
It takes a lot of practice. Yeah.
I know it doesn't seem like there's much hope in this country with everything crazy going on for the past 3 years. I
At
don't know.
least, yeah.
Maybe at least, yeah, probably longer than that. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, my thing about people is basically you are love. And I have a strong spiritual practice, and I feel like we are all created as love, but we get all distracted and hurt and stuff. And we live on this planet, and there's all kinds of things going on that distracts us from that. So I have a book that's coming out, and it's kind of about this a little bit. It's like you can connect if you can get into your core, what makes you feel love? If you
Mhm.
can be that love that you are, that will spread. If you walk around and you have lots of compassion and you do what you feel called to do, that you can help just by being yourself. And a lot of times that means we got to clear out all the stuff that gets in the way of that. Like I've done a lot of my own personal work, a lot, and I continue to do that because, we're human, we're subject to all these things, but that's my sense. Like and I've noticed for me as I've been clearing, um, that's partly why I'm better at boundaries than I used to be.
Mhm.
Like I can stay in a space. It's kind of like if you've done martial arts or something for a long time, you're very grounded in yourself. You're even in the face of violence, in the face of awful things, you can stay centered and calm, and you can do what you need to do in that situation.
Right. As we end, where can people find more about you, learn more about you in general?
Okay, well, my son is trying to get my website up. He's doing it from scratch, so it's going to take a while, but it'll
Okay.
be annaimark.com. And but my email works. It's annaimark with the number 5 at Gmail. That works. I'm also on Psychology Today.
Mhm.
I'm in Sacramento, California, and you can find it on there, and ways to connect through the office number and email through that. So thank you for that.